Okay.
Welcome to Books and Music Review. Today we're honored by a guest with whom many in the CTV audience will be very familiar, Mr. Angelo Capone, a comedic performer and admirer of Jerry Lewis since childhood, will be interviewed by our host, Lynn Perry.
Okay, so we've had our first technical error, my first technical error. I'm sorry for the delay.
No problem.
And thank you so much for coming to the show.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Okay, so I saw something and I would like to read it, if that's okay with you. And I hope this mic is doing okay. There was once a little boy who had seen a man pretending to be him. The boy was confused and refused to understand. This man had all my faces and moves of silliness, but I can only laugh at him as only the little boy can. The man was on a big screen for all to see. He made people laugh and even scream. The boy just stared because all he knew to do was hide those tears in his eyes. The more he saw, the more he knew that he needed not to hide, but to jump on the man's back and take the ride. He thought that if they were laughing at this man, he should laugh at himself and know all is well. The boy grew up to be a man and made people laugh and even made people laugh at themselves as well. This is what the boy came to know, that it's okay to be as little as you can. Stay young, because before you know, you are old, as the eyes can see, and that man's characters brought so much joy to this boy. And now I'll keep this man's characters for all to know and see. May the stage be set, for dreams do come true. This man can stay as a little boy and never feel being blue. Rest, Sir Lewis.
Well, you read it very well.
Thank you.
I'll give you a little background on that.
Okay.
I guess I was around 30 in that time when it all hit me at 7, 8 years old. My father was a film buff, and he had all these films, and back in the day there was no words. You couldn't hear nothing. It was all screen. And there was Jerry on the screen, and there I was watching a man with all these faces and clumsiness, and I recognized that person because it was me as a kid. But the difference was, this was a man who was making a living and sharing it, and mine was a little boy who was hiding from the truth, that I didn't feel like I was good enough for everybody else around me, because they weren't as clumsy as me. They weren't as slow as me. I had a problem of being dyslexic, and so things were different in my world. And seeing that person on the screen, it just confused me, because it was like he was okay and I wasn't okay. So when I seen that this man was popular, and that's the word, popular, I started to be popular with myself, meaning that it was okay to be this person, because there was room for something of laughter versus being serious. You know, there's an old saying my father used to say that it came from a comedian: if everybody goes to college, who's going to cut the fish? Well, that's who I felt. I felt like the guy that was cutting the fish. So in that writing, it talked about jumping on his back and taking the ride.
Right.
Well, I took the ride. And it was only up until 4 years ago I retired. And as I was retiring, my wife said, "Why don't you make a living doing Jerry?
I like that.
Now that you feel comfortable and it's okay for you." And that's where I am today. So
That's
it's
great.
the last 4 years I really came out doing Jerry, and I started my own production company.
So what's really the best thing that happens to you when you're doing imitations or impersonations of Jerry Lewis? What's really happening to you? How do you feel?
What's happening to me is that I found an inner person that could give.
Right.
See, it's all about what we're giving and not what we're taking. And being that little boy, being that confused little boy and that clumsy kid, I never felt I was giving. I was taking. So doing Jerry gives me the pleasure of feeling that I'm giving. And that giving is putting a smile on somebody's face, the way he did.
That is excellent. And I have to tell you, since you didn't ask me, and nobody asked me, I've seen your Jerry Lewis imitation or impersonation. I don't know what to call it, but I've seen you as Jerry. And it really makes me smile. You know, when he had died, I was really kind of surprised and shocked that, you know, he died. And then I saw you, and I'm like, oh, you're going to let the routine live.
Well,
You're going to let the jokes live. You're going
Right.
to leave that feeling from the heart. It's still around, and it's going to be around for years and years and years. For people who've never seen Jerry, you know, the young ones growing up who haven't seen him yet,
right.
they'll be able to look to you and look to your act.
I
like that.
I think he's going to be, you know, it's sad to say when I was dealing with agents and bookings and all that, it was tough when they're alive.
Uh-huh.
It's when they're dead, the impersonator becomes more popular because now there's a loss
Right.
and somebody's got to pick it up.
Right.
See, and I don't consider myself an impersonator.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just channel in
Okay.
because there's something to relate to channel in with.
Right.
I'm not just putting on a wig and saying I'm Jerry Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling that character. And let me get that explained.
Right.
I'm not doing Jerry Lewis.
Right.
I'm doing Jerry Lewis's character. Because as we know, Jerry Lewis wasn't this clumsy person.
Right.
Wasn't this mixed up kid. He happened to be very confident in all that he did and all that he said. And that's where it was easy for him to make this character up.
Right.
Where for me was the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I was hiding the serious person
Exactly.
and becoming the comic.
Exactly. You know, when people if they go look at Jerry Lewis on YouTube, or if they see his old movies, or they see him as one way, they see him as, you know, the slapstick, the comedy, the falling down, all the silly stuff. If you really know Jerry Lewis, if you really got to know him, if you really got to see him, if you got to see him somewhere off the beaten path, which I did. I saw him in The Human Condition once. It was a lecture in a Manhattan synagogue that was by the Museum of Natural History. And all I knew about Jerry Lewis before that, of course, we've seen him on the telethons, and we've seen him that serious way. I'm off camera here. Okay. So all I knew about him was that, you know, he was the silly guy, the funny guy, which I loved. And I got to see him in a new way when I saw him in that kind of a different area. And I came out of there thinking, like, you know what you don't know, if you don't know Jerry Lewis, he was a genius.
He was a genius.
He was a genius, and he had a heart that, aside from the telethon, aside from the donations, he had a heart inside of him for people that is so big you couldn't fit it in this room. Right. So that's what you don't know about Jerry Lewis. You just see him, you know, the silly stuff. And but you know him, and
But
you know about him.
What I like, what I'm saying is the character,
Mm-hmm.
you can't judge.
Right.
And that's what made me continue this.
Right.
Because you can't judge someone who's clumsy. You have to feel sorry
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't judge someone who's confused. You got to feel sorry for them.
Mm-hmm.
And in my time of need of being young,
Right.
I needed to feel sorry for. So that's why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted to show the world, like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing.
Right.
Just feel sorry for the person,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what's going on.
And see, now I have a different outlook on that when you say you have to feel sorry for them, because, like, I guess I've known a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people who are clumsy, who are disabled or whatever, and I know them. I know them as people, as human beings. And for me, it's like, you know what I feel? I feel like I'm so glad I know them.
Right.
That was my first feeling. It's like, I'm so glad that I know that person, that I can be a part of that person's world. But I know what you mean. I know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
only because you know them. So the ones that you don't know.
And because I am them, I'm so...
Right. And the ones that you don't know,
Right.
just feel sorry for them. And then you may come to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you'll never maybe have that door to meet them and find out who they really are.
know that they're human,
Right.
just like you and me.
Let me give you a story about Jerry Lewis.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Staying on that.
Okay.
1976.
Make sure you're talking to the mic. I don't know.
In
I should go out and check the mic.
1976, I was living in Trenton, New Jersey,
Right.
and I had a birthday gift from an old girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I'm taking you to Las Vegas.
Wow.
I was 22 years old.
Nice gift.
And she says, I have a surprise for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right. So we get on this chartered flight, and it happens to be a plumbers convention. So they were wild and raring to go, the whole plane.
Oh, wow.
And myself and the girl I was with and two elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the party started as soon as that plane went off.
Wow.
And there I was sitting next to a girl named Phyllis,
Mm-hmm.
who her husband was a Polish man who was the president of the union of,
Right.
of the plumbers convention.
Mm-hmm.
And we started chit-chatting this and that, and they're saying they're going to have a big party, and they mentioned something about having a masquerade and this and that. And the girl I was with says, well, Angelo could do Jerry Lewis.
Wow.
And when this girl,
Convenience.
Phyllis,
Mm-hmm.
heard that I did Jerry Lewis, she being Jewish really made it well and good.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, oh my God, you got to do Jerry for me.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are. We get off the plane. We're all together. We pull up to the Hilton Hotel. We get up to the to register, and I say I'm Angelo Capone. It wasn't even under my. It was under my name, but
Right.
mostly everything was under her.
Mm-hmm.
And this girl Phyllis steps up to the plate
Right.
and tells the people behind, "This is Jerry Lewis's son." Anthony."
That's
And
good.
I just looked and went,
Great introduction.
what is she doing to me? I'm Jerry Lewis. And they didn't even question. They said, how you doing,
Wow.
Anthony? How are you? So I let it go.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make a long story short. The gift was that I was going to see Jerry Lewis,
Wow.
okay?
That's
it
cool.
happened to be the Saturday before the telethon on Sunday. So they were trying to keep this surprise from me. But through the week, you got to come with me now, I am doing Jerry in the hotel the whole week. And here I have a woman, Rose, who was in her 50s then,
Mm-hmm.
a mother to me, and two other waitresses who thought I was Anthony Lewis, Jerry Lewis's son. And they catered to me.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
they loved me. They
That's
hugged
great.
me. They this and that. And there I was talking with them. One day I came out as went to the tennis pro dressed as Jerry, did a tennis lesson as Jerry. I went to the pool with a bathing suit up to my chest with socks and sneakers and did Jerry. So I was doing Jerry as I was pretending to be this Anthony
Right.
Lewis. And these women were just taking care of me. I mean,
Okay.
there was a buffet, and they're feeding me.
Right.
They're
Wow.
serving me as there's a buffet, so you could understand. So one day I said to her, "So what shows have you?" She says, "We never seen shows." I said, "You're living in Vegas and you never went to a show?"
Wow.
So I was, really okay. Here it comes, Saturday, and I am thrilled. I am sitting at the ringside table.
Wow.
Now, ringside table, for people that don't know, is right on the stage.
Right.
So I am arm's length of Jerry Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
When we get there, I'm all excited because they're all saying there's a table of 10 or
Right.
12, and you got to do Jerry. And I'm like, I'm pumped up. Maybe I got to see how I'm going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I am looking into the audience, the table in front of me, there is Rose and the two women.
Wow.
Well, you know what came over me?
Mm-hmm.
Guilt. We've been lying to these people all week. How am I going to do Jerry?
Okay.
How am I going to do this with them there? Number one, they'll blow my cover. Number two, I'm lying to them. Because if you know, Jerry Lewis always does questions and answers.
Uh-huh.
And that's how he begins the show. Let's
Wow.
put up the lights, and any questions, I will answer you.
Uh-huh.
So they were all like, Angelo, when he does that, you got to. And I said, I can't. I can't meet Jerry now.
So what happens?
So what happened was, I had to think quick.
Oh.
I said, everybody, give me some money. and now these plumbers conventions, they
Okay.
made decent. I had a nice bundle.
I know, the
in my-
plumbers.
I had a nice bundle in my hand.
Right.
And I said, what am I going to do? I can't lie. I got to figure this out. So when he gets up and asks his questions, he says, what's your name and where you're from? Well, I had to beat that.
Wow.
And I did.
Mm-hmm.
I raised my hand. He looked to the right and said, I said, before you say anything,
Uh-huh.
I said, I want to start you out on your telethon tomorrow.
Oh,
Now,
that's good.
If you know about Jerry Lewis,
Uh-huh.
you talk about the telethon.
Yeah.
He's all serious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came over to me, put his arm around me,
Mm-hmm.
took the money, and started talking about the telethon.
Right.
So this whole time, I got him
Right.
around
Mm-hmm.
where we are as close as two men could be.
Wow.
And all I'm doing is looking at the women, and they are so thrilled because in their brain, Anthony's with his father.
That's cool.
So far, I'm pulling this off.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, the guy from the wing, because there's no watches and clocks in
Right.
Vegas, said,
Uh-huh.
time.
Mm-hmm.
He says, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank these kids again. Kissed everybody, looked at me and said, thank you, son.
Oh, that's so cool.
And kissed me, sat me
That is
down,
so cool.
and he did the show.
I
So
like
I
that.
accomplished what I wanted to do,
Uh-huh.
and not hurt them because they were all thrilled.
Thinking quick.
Thinking quick,
Yeah,
because believe it or not, Jerry was a think quick person.
that's right.
And
Don't panic. Just think quick.
just do it.
Yep.
And in the end, I said, well, I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So there I was in the dark. He was doing something. And
Right.
I just turned around and went, wait. And he looked around. And
He thought, where am I?
he didn't know where that came from.
Oh, wow.
And I did it twice.
Oh, wow.
So I was happy that he heard me one way
Okay.
and experienced me in another way. And I came, and the story is I met him, but I
Okay.
didn't meet him.
You got to give him the business card.
I know that. Right, exactly.
You got to get the business
But
card.
it was funny.
yeah.
I was only 22 and I wasn't involved.
Wow.
You know, it was just for me.
Wow.
You know, I didn't do it for anybody.
I like this. You know what? I like this because, you know, you see you on TV and you see you all over the place. But I love hearing the behind the scenes. I love hearing the stories that you don't hear, like if you just come to perform, which
Right.
I will not call it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you get to hear the backstory, the story under the table, the story behind the curtain.
Because there's a story with
Yeah,
everything.
and I will tell you a story, which is not another time that I met him, but what I heard from someone else, which was the truth. It was a family member. You know, when he does the telethons,
Yes.
you'd always see, you know, at a point where he would get tired, where it'd get a little bit, you know, as he got older. What people don't know is, though, and I got this from an electrician who was behind the scene setting up for the telethon, and they had worked there a number of times, and they said, you know, Jerry Lewis, he had oxygen behind this.
Yes.
He was, when you saw him give his all and give everything of himself for those kids, because you got to do it for the kids.
Yes.
When you saw him give his all, nobody knew how much his all was,
Yep.
that he was to the point sometimes where he couldn't breathe.
You're
Just
so right.
gave everything. And so, you know what? I like this. I like this opportunity to hear from you. I love that. I
Well,
absolutely love it.
the end of that story was the next day was the telethon,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
which was a thrill for me because I seen Dean walk out.
Ah, yeah.
And what you said about the oxygen,
Right,
as soon as Dean left and they went to a commercial,
right.
he ran for oxygen because,
Yeah.
number one, he's been up.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, he just experienced something that he thought he never experienced
Right.
again. And that took everything out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a thrilling moment.
Right.
It was for him. Was a thrilling moment, and the people just felt for him in that moment.
Uh-huh.
And really, believe it or not, it was a thrilling moment for Dean Martin too,
Uh-huh.
because you know I could believe watching. He went back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he went back in that moment where they were lightning in a bottle. There was nobody and ever be.
Okay.
Nobody will ever be a Martin Lewis again. They're the only two men that were successful,
Right.
that together and apart.
Exactly.
And there was no
Exactly.
one that ever could match that. And, you know, there is nothing better than that. And they both went
like
their
that.
ways, and they did what they had to do.
Definitely. And the part about, where he thought he would never see him again. And you know what? It's like everything about his story from day one to all the silliness, to the telethons, everything about it, to the with Dean and without Dean. It is all really, it's a story of hope, which I like. This was recording this in December.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times the holidays come around and people are like, a lot of people don't have hope. They see all the commercialization and sometimes hope just like kind of flies away. But I like this because the whole thing about Jerry was hope.
Right.
The whole thing about his story, and even you continuing the hope. I think that's excellent.
Well, in what you read, I put dreams.
I love that.
Dreams
I read that.
Dreams do come true. You know,
I read that. I'm
came-
like, yes.
As much as that it came to my awareness, and even though I didn't grab it all,
Right.
that hope got me where I am today.
Exactly.
Even though it's
Exactly.
30 years later.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes it could be a week later. Sometimes it could be 10 years
You know,
later.
There's no time in hope.
Exactly.
Hope is when it comes,
As
it'll
long
be
as
the right
you
time.
keep on
Right.
keeping on.
Right. And
You'll
you
reach
got
hope.
and the main thing too is you got to surround yourself with people
Exactly.
who are hoping with you,
hmm
and you hoping for them.
And if
You
they
know?
don't have the hope, you need to give it. You need to share it.
You
You,
need
can
to
do that with a word.
Right. Exactly.
With a smile.
Just a smile. Well,
With a, I was looking for the typewriter. I'm like, we must have a typewriter around here somewhere. But later, we'll see if we can find it, right?
no, we're gonna pretend typewriter.
Pretend type. Oh, yeah, we
That's
could do
what he-
that
right.
whenever you're
We'll-
ready.
we'll
So
pretend.
tell me, what else? What else should we talk about?
Well, like again, I started doing Jerry 4 years ago for a living.
Okay.
And it all started where I met a dean, and from him we met a Frank and we met a Sam, and we did a Rap Pack show.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
we hosted it, you
Uh-huh.
know, as much as we can, as with Jerry. You know, Jerry
Great,
being
right.
the outsider.
Mhm.
Because you got to remember, what people fail to understand, that Jerry is really the guy with all of them. I mean,
Right,
Jerry
right.
was Dean Martin's partner.
Exactly.
Jerry was Sammy Davis's best friend.
Exactly.
And Sammy looked at Frank as his boss.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he might have not been in the Rap Pack, as they would
Right.
say, but he was in the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he regretted it, you know, that he wasn't as close as he liked to have been. But there was nobody better than him.
I
being around
believe he
him.
was exactly where he was supposed to be.
He was exactly where he was supposed to
Yeah.
be. Exactly.
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 You know, it's like, and he knows that, and his family knows that, and
Right. And
I like that.
he got a big break from all that. You know, that him being with Sinatra, Sammy, and Dean
Exactly.
was his break. And I think he had gratitude towards that. He knew that he was
Exactly.
nothing without them.
right.
He always said it. I was a pantomime. I pantomimed, and Dean was everything. Now he comes across Sammy. Now he comes across Sinatra. These guys are the top of the heap, you know.
Right.
And he just knew, like, I think he knew not to burst the bubble 20 years where Frank said it's about time, because he was happy. He was content. He
You
was
know
doing
what?
his thing.
Somebody has to be silly. Like, somebody's got to do that job.
Right, exactly.
And had he gone any other way, to been any other part, or like, you know what? Somebody's got to be silly, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that Jerry did it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you do it, too. It's like,
Well, like again, I started 4 years ago with our Rap Pack, and we were in Florida, and we were successful. And then I started to develop more my character. You know,
Okay.
I said, you know what? There's always homework, and there's always things you can learn.
uh-huh.
May it be a costume, or it could be a prop, or it could be a slight of a change in your voice, whatever. And
We've got 6 minutes and 21 seconds. Go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the typewriter,
Okay.
which Jerry
Shall
did,
I,
but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it the way it originally was.
Okay.
Jerry first did it in a conducting. He was a conductor.
I know. I
which
remember
looked
that.
more-
Uh-huh.
Before the Nutty Professor came, it looked like a little nutty.
Right.
So, because I just want to explain something obvious. This ain't my hair. Okay?
I like
this
that.
is Jerry's. Now, this is going to be very hard because I can't see what I'm
Okay.
doing. But you know what? You'll get the idea, right?
Yeah.
You'll get some idea. And
I like that.
it's just a
Let me
simple.
put you on camera, too.
It's just a simple understanding of a prop and where it all comes from. It's just having that feeling of feeling whatever you're feeling. That's what he did. He just felt it as he went. He didn't rehearse anything, and
that typewriter really came in the same way. He just came in and he did it. And this is how it went. It went somewhere, I don't know where it went. It's okay. You don't have to play it again. It's all right. Well, that's how it went. The typewriter went that way. And actually, how he got this voice was he used the word, and the word was always actually. Actually is where he developed and helped him bring this actually type voice, and it's very easy to do. And that's my take on the Nutty Professor.
I confess, I was in there just listening and watching, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing a show. So I'm like, okay, stop that music. That is fabulous. I'm going to go out, and we have 2 minutes. We definitely have to put this little... That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
This is the real me.
Oh, that's great.
This is the real me. I had hair like this. I even had thicker and blacker hair than this. And it was very easy to do the character because I had it all. I was very thin, the hair, skinnier face.
What are you looking forward to with more Jerry Lewis?
Well, I'm really looking forward to move this production company and bring on shows called Yesterday's Legends. Yesterday's Legends being about the legends of yesterday who really made entertainment where it is today. And it's sad to say that the entertainment today ain't really, for me, nowhere because nothing lasts. But these classics, people and songs and shows, they're lasting because it was just good entertainment. And that's what I want to try to bring back is good entertainment.
That was fabulous. Yeah,
Try to bring back.
We got another minute and 39 seconds.
Well,
so
I
what do you have to say?
Just want to thank everybody for just sharing my story, and I will be posting face-to-face productions, Yesterday's Legends, and I hope that you come and see the shows and see what talent that we're offering. We have really good talent out there.
I can vouch for that.
We have really
you
good
are
talent.
excellent.
Thank you very much for having
And
me.
that comes from someone who's seen Jerry Lewis. You are excellent, absolutely excellent.
Thank you.
And another minute. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know what to say.
But it's just a thrill doing this character. You know, it's a lot of fun, and the best part of it is I can make a mistake,
Yes.
and nobody would know it because Jerry always made mistakes, in spite of what you want to believe, because he just did it. He always felt what he did. He wasn't big on rehearsal. He wrote it down on a piece of paper, handed it out, and then when the time came, they did what they needed to do. And that's what I do. I hope you come and see my show. Thank you.
That is excellent. And we have 30 seconds. I am so glad you came to the show. Oh, another mic. I'm really glad you came to the show. You have 30 seconds.
amazing.
Oh, my mic was off. That's terrible. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon.